Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to Learn English with Fatima. Today, I'm going to talk about the future perfect tense. I'm going to talk about the future perfect simple tense and the future perfect continuous or progressive tense. I'm also going to talk about how to say negatives and how to ask questions. Let's get started. The future perfect tense talks about an event in the future that will overlap or come before another event. So when we're using the future perfect tense, we're talking about two events all in the future. And the event that will come before or overlap is in the future perfect tense. And the future perfect tense can either be simple or continuous, and I will go over both forms. To use the future perfect simple tense, we use the subject, we use will have, and that's for any kind of subject, singular or plural. We use the past participle, we use an object, and then we use a time phrase, which I will talk about. So here's an example. She will have moved to Australia by the summer. So she will move to Australia, and then the summer will come after that. And both events are in the future. Here are some examples of time phrases we might use in the future perfect tense. We could say tomorrow, which is the day after today. We could say the day after tomorrow, which means 2 days from now. We could say next week, next month, next year. We could say in a year. We could say later. We don't know if that's something that's happening soon or far in the future. We could say in the near future, which means something that is happening very soon. We could just say soon. We could use a specific date, like next Monday. We could say in August. We could say January 13th. We could say in 2026. We could also use a season, fall, summer, winter, or spring. Or we could say by the time. When we use by in the future perfect tense, it means before. So if I said by the time we get there, it actually means before we get there. Here's another example. And as you can see here, the time phrase can come at the end of the sentence, or it can be the first part of the sentence, like it is here. So if I say, by next week, I will have finished my classes, that means when next week comes, my classes will be finished. And that's an example of what by the time means. I can also say, in August, we will have bought a new house. So when August comes, and August here is in the future, a new house will have been bought. So these are two events all happening in the future. The future perfect continuous tense is used for an action that will have been ongoing for a certain amount of time before the next action happens. So we use the subject, we use will have been, and then we use an ing verb or a present participle, and then we use a time phrase. For example, my mother will have been cooking all day by the time I get home. So when I arrive home, my mother will be cooking and will still be cooking. So it's an ongoing action. Here's another example. In October, I will have been working here for 2 years. You can also say, I'll have been working here for 2 years if you want to use the short form of I and will. Or we can use a specific time for our time phrase. At 5 o'clock, you will have been studying for 4 hours. If we want to use the future perfect tense as a negative, we put the not between will and have. For example, I will not have finished my work if we leave after lunch. This is talking about an event that will not yet be finished before another event occurs. Or if we want to use the future perfect tense as a question, we put the subject between will and have. Will she have done the dishes by the time we get home? So you may be wondering which tense to use, the future simple tense or the future perfect tense. So if you don't have a time phrase or a deadline for when another event begins, use the future simple tense. This means if you aren't comparing two events that are happening in the future, you can just use the future simple tense. For example, we wouldn't say, they will have gone to the store, because that sentence doesn't have a time phrase. Instead, we would say, they will go to the store. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Shukran. Bye.